Look at the source. That's probably the best way. Is it a dependable source or not? And have they lied to you before, especially in politics? There's a group of people that I call the designated liars.
Oh, okay. That's a good term.
So there's some people that get sent out by, let's say, the Democrats when there's a whopper of a lie, like a really big hoax. And it's the same group of people. It's your Swalwell and your Raskin and Jerry Nadler for a while. So when you ever see one of those, you just know whatever it is isn't true. Because they wouldn't send them out to tell the story. They're the shameless ones. Mm-hmm. It's like, oh, they only sent the shameless ones out. This has got to be not true. And that was pretty reliable. Look at the source.
An excellent breakdown from Scott Adams. Just another example why he's the best. Always check the sources, peeps. Always check the sources. I have so many people send me stuff all the time. Interesting sounding stories, for sure. Some of them look legit. And then I look at the source, and I can almost always tell you it's not going to be true or it will be true depending on that. But anyways, welcome guys to American Fire. I'm your host, Ace. We are going to cover the weekend's biggest news early live today because at 4:30, baby, I got the Niners Bucks. It's a big game. I got to watch my boys, see if we can keep this run going while injured. I know so many of you care about that, so I'll be sure to talk about it a lot. Just kidding. And then tonight, I'm actually probably going to chill with the family and maybe even watch that night game. So I came on early today. Glad to see some of you are making it. That's awesome. And if not, you can watch the replay. But before we get started, hit that like, hit that subscribe. I appreciate it. Also, today we're going to be talking about, obviously, Friday was a wild day in the markets. So I'm going to be breaking that down, my thoughts on it, what I think's coming, what that could look like ahead this coming week. We also just got some big news today that might affect all that. Actually, it definitely will. So we're going to be talking about that. And I want to break down again why I think Trump might actually want this to happen and why the timing makes sense. On top of that, I'm going to go through the government shutdown news. Trump just nuked the Democrats with massive news that's just like shocking them and just taking away all their power. The man is clearly was planned for this shutdown, knew what they were doing. And then some other stories that caught my eye. We'll talk about them today, and then we'll get out of here in about an hour 15. How's that sound? All right. First up, I got to do what I always do. Shout out my peeps in the Chizat. What's up, guys? AC numero uno today, buddy. Good to see you. You made it live. It's been a while. I know I've missed you in the chat, man. Alice Fordham, how you doing? Donna M, God bless you. Happy Sunday. Big Suede, the one, what to do? Lyrical, Kathy, John Cresson, Alan Krentz, what's up? Nick Majors, Nels, what's going on? Patrice Smith, Big JR, what's up, buddy? Miami RN, old man, what's up? Jack Hamilton, all right, you just caught it, baby. Alan Krentz, hey, my team, don't make fun of my Niners, okay? Listen, I know they're from San Francisco, even though they play in Santa Clara. You can make all the gay jokes you want, but my team is like the most pro-MAGA team out there, outspoken. Bosa, our DN, man, Defensive Player of the Year, got fined for wearing a MAGA hat last year before the election. So my boys, even though they're in San Francisco, they're representing the Trump. Nick Majors says 49ers need to pull a rabbit to beat the oh yeah, they will. I don't expect us to win today, but you never know. I didn't expect us to beat the Rams either. So who knows? Heidi Mogo, what's going on? Good to see you guys. Yeah. Great times, great people in the chat. All right, love you guys. Good to see you. We need to get started, though. If you're on X, thanks for watching. Please like and repost. I cannot see your comments, unfortunately, until after. X does not do that. X doesn't have a chat. So hopefully they change that eventually. I would love to see that. But for Rumble and YouTube, always, I try to get to all your comments and questions that I can. And that makes my show a little different than others because, the crowd's important. I like to learn from you guys, be reminded by you guys. all kinds of good stuff. Pedro Rod says, is it my birthday early, Ace? That's right. That's right, friends. Speaking of, somebody just said they got a notification from YouTube. That's awesome. I think the shadow ban might finally be lifted on my channel. I'm starting to see growth pick up again, which is awesome. And, this last week, they restored all the Q people's accounts like Praying Medic, Jordan Sather. Lots of people are getting back on their accounts. They're reposting. They're posting new videos, so they even have access to them. So YouTube might actually be holding to the fact that they are trying to censor less, which is good. It's great for my channel. And I got to tell you, the last week, my views have been ticking back up again. It's not a boom, but it's ticking. And the subscribers are starting to be regular again, which is great. So hopefully this continues. And YouTube, if you truly are not censoring, kudos to you. Thanks for doing that. And I'm, again, just another win by having Trump in office. Okay. I know you guys ain't kind of just hear me rail on that. So let's get into it. The markets on Friday, you guys know we got that big China news, correct? Well, this is what happened Friday. I was not live to break this down, but Trump posted this. It has just been learned China's taken an extraordinary aggressive position on trade in sending an extremely hostile letter to the world stating they were going to, effective November 1st, 2025, impose large-scale export controls on virtually every product they make, and some not even made by them. This affects all countries without exception and was obviously a plan devised by them years ago. It's absolutely unheard of in international trade and a moral disgrace in dealing with other nations. Based on the fact China has taken this unprecedented position, speaking only for the USA and not other nations who are similarly threatened, starting November 1st, or sooner, the USA will impose a tariff of 100% on China over and above any tariff currently paying. Also, we will impose export controls on any and all critical software. It's impossible to believe China would have taken such an action, but they have. The rest is history. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Now, this is what started the massive drop in the markets, okay? Because it's one thing when the markets kind of got used to Trump dealing out tariffs. But it's another thing when China is coming out and instituting a full-on trade war, which is what this is. If China is truly going to limit their exports in general, control the precious metals markets, I mean, listen, they have been the number one place to get all these metals and elements, minerals that power our phones or computers. All this stuff is like, this runs the economies now in the modern economy. This would be massive. But, and here's the big but, China is overplaying their hand, because the truth is China doesn't like to be bullied. China doesn't want to be put in a corner, like baby. Baby doesn't like being put in a corner, You guys know. If you're born in the 80s, But China doesn't like that. China wants to be the big bully on the block. The problem is they're not. The problem is their economy right now is failing. They don't have as strong a military as us. They like to puff up their chest and strut around like a rooster, acting like they are the kings of the world. But in fact, they are not. And so Trump is the first president in modern history to actually push back against China. Everybody else always played the game, always capitulated, always, got along behind the scenes. And if you're the Clintons, the Obamas, you're actually, sending them our IP and trade secrets behind, and foreign secrets, technology secrets, all that stuff, selling it to the Chinese behind our backs. Biden as well. That's what we've been doing with China. Trump's the first one who takes something like this and fights back, and China has already responded. So it's kind of funny. It's interesting. But in the past, China would have said something like this, and we would have come to the president would have acted all tough in a way, and then nothing would happen. They'd talk to China, and then the Chinese would kind of get mostly what they want, and they'd back off. Trump is a different animal. Trump's like, you know what? You guys want to play that game? You want to act like you're the big bad? Screw you. I'm going to hit you guys in a way that would decimate your economy. And meanwhile, we have all these people out there, CNN, MSNBC, Fox News, even all these people saying freaking out like this is the end of the world because we need all that precious metal. We need everything. China is the only one who has it. But Trump knows the truth. And Marjorie Taylor Greene shared this. America is rich in critical rare earth minerals. We must be able to responsibly mine them in order to not only compete with China, but also for our independence and national security. Trump and his administration are working to accomplish this. However, there are many obstacles like lawsuits, environmental permitting issues, blocking our ability to mine and process our own rare earth minerals. And so, as usual, the liberals and the climate change scam artists are our own worst enemy. They are the ones blocking us from thriving the way we should be thriving. They're the ones limiting our fossil fuel, and now they're the ones limiting our minerals and our mineral earth deposits. It's all their fault. And this is on purpose. It's on purpose because it ties us to the rest of the world. It means they can keep raiding us, pillaging us, and stealing from us. And we're stuck with them. That we have to deal with them. And then the presidents, the congressmen, they can all pretend that we're actually this interconnected economy. And the only way we survive is if we stay interconnected globally. And that gives them the excuse to keep stealing from the middle class and enslaving us all and creating the larger wealth gap. That's what they want. That's how they accrue their power and keep it. But Trump knows better. So when something like this happens, Trump sees an opportunity to say, okay, we'll smash you. And then what happens if this holds? If China actually goes through with this, well, then we get to the point where we actually will be forced to start mining our own stuff and become more independent and more wealthy. Oh no, that's so terrible. Yes, it'd take a little time. We take a little hit for a little bit, but Trump isn't scared of that. He's the guy, and him and Bissett were out this spring saying, hey, we might have to go through temporary misery for long-term gain. Well, this is a part of that. And Trump fights back. And what's happening in this is you got people like Marjorie Taylor Greene out here posting stuff like this. It's starting to spread because people are freaking out. And then we have a place like X, which we didn't have in the past, where all these big people, Marjorie Taylor Greene is one of the most famous congressmen, posting this so the American people start waking up and being like, oh, wow, we have that? It's kind of like what Trump did in his first term with oil. Remember, everybody was scared, like, oh, the Saudis control the oil prices. The Russians control the oil prices. And Trump was like, oh, yeah, watch what happens when I deregulate in our country and drill, baby, drill. And oil prices tanked. They went negative at one point. We got gas back down to like $1.30 for a while. It was glorious. All because we have the resources and we've been lied to that we don't have them. So Trump fights back. And then today we get a new post. Trump, don't worry about China. It will all be fine. Highly respected President Xi just had a bad moment. He doesn't want depression for his country. Neither do I. The USA wants to help China, not hurt it. This is hilarious. And as PDB shares, this post is from the future. I'll read his post in a minute because it's pretty good. A little breakdown. But this is Trump saying, we won again. Xi, I own Xi. Listen how he belittles him. Highly respected President Xi just had a bad moment. That's like talking to a toddler. Oh, the little guy, he just had a bad moment. We're going to work this out. It'll be fine. This means President Xi, or at least somebody in the Chinese government, called Trump this weekend. Is like, whoa, 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 whoa. Hold up. Okay, we didn't expect you guys to fight back. Everybody else who has ever been president in the last 25, 50 years and dealt with us has been a big wuss, big weenie. And they always gave in. You guys are actually going to fight back? You're going to, no, we can't do this. Are you kidding me? This will destroy us. We're already in depression. We're already in the worst real estate commercial crisis, maybe of all time for anywhere, anytime. Things are collapsing here. Yeah, we can't do this. Okay, you called our bluff. We're good. And so Trump puts this out there, and in the Trumpiest way possible is like, it's going to be fine. The question I have is, what does this do to the markets? Is this enough? Now, PDB shares this, and I love he has great stuff on markets and everything, but he says, everyone on this app thinks Trump conceded with this post and that the market rally is back on. Nobody backed down, USA or China, and that's where I disagree with them. I think China did just back down a little bit. Trump testing waters and trying to avoid a Monday massacre. He will press all week and markets still need a correction. Bubble is beginning to pop, and that's good, so we can have a true Q4 blow-off top rally after a deep correction. Then in 2026, markets pop, and we start to build up again for 27 JD Vance market run pre-election. This post is from the future, he says. Here's the deal. You guys know that I have been saying something very similar to this is what I think could happen. Now, I like Peter. We've communicated a little bit on X. As far as I know, he doesn't watch my show. I had no idea he had this thought, but it tells you that I'm not the only smart person. I'm not the only person who pays attention to politics and the markets very closely that is seeing this and seeing this as a possibility. Trump is okay with stuff being broken. He wasn't afraid in April with the tariffs. Why did he do the tariff pop on the first place, Liberation Day, April 2nd, when he blasted and freaked out the markets? They went into that massive correction, and then he tapered off. People are like, oh, he was so dumb, and then he saw what happened to the markets, and so he backed out. Taco Trump. No way. Trump is way too smart for that. He did it on purpose. He's consistently pushing the markets and testing them, testing how resilient they are, and then presenting his plan. Now, on Friday, we didn't get a official notice from the Chinese. We got Trump's Truth Social. So the Chinese had said something to the Trump administration, and then Trump blasted it out there. So it's Trump's tweet that actually impacted the markets with the 100% tariffs and everything. That, again, Trump testing, Trump pushing. And at some point, the shaky market is going to cave. Now, right now, we have a situation where the markets are, the government shut down. So they can't get the same liquidity injections. They can't get the same movement of cash that they would usually need if it starts trending down or we start going through a crash. Everything's kind of set up right now so that the markets are standing on their own. And in fact, just the other day, Trump reinstituted Columbus Day this Monday. Well, what's that mean? The markets aren't closed. It's actually much more interesting than that. Monday, U.S. markets will be regularly open, but because of Columbus Day holiday, all Fed systems except FedNow won't be operational. This means financial institutions won't be able to wire funds between each other. Not ideal if stocks tank and margin calls fly. So you have right now this weird situation where the government shut down. We have a bank holiday that's not a stock market holiday. And then you also got all this volatility going on with tariffs in China coming into tomorrow. Is this the perfect storm for a Black Monday? I don't know. It's entirely possible that these fake markets pump again and we rebound tomorrow and they use this excuse. But if something broke Friday, or if at least something got tilted off, there's going to be liquidity issues. And with the banks closed, there's not going to be able to be a lot of liquidity pulled in. So it's possible something significantly breaks tomorrow. We'll find out. I'm not making a prediction. I'm just preparing everybody based on what I'm seeing. And I'm also saying that this looks very much like Trump set this up. He knew what could be coming of all this. What is it coincidence that he announced Columbus Day right when China announced this new deal? Is it coincidence that he announced tariffs right when he announces Columbus Day, 100% tariffs? I don't know. I don't tend to believe in coincidences. And I think the White House, as usual, has far more knowledge of all that's going on than we do behind the scenes. I think Trump is trying to break the markets, and he's trying to do it in a way because our markets are fake. We all know it. They're completely fake. They're broken. It's all corrupt. It's bubbles everywhere. AI bubble, credit bubble, housing bubble, you name it. We got all the bubbles right now. Trump knows this. He has to know this. He's got his stock, DJT, which he owns 51% of, has been one of the most heavily manipulated stocks in history. That's his money. I guarantee you he knows it. His CEO, Devin Nunes, also on the House Intelligence Committee 4 years ago, he talks about the manipulation of stocks and naked short selling and all that. He's brought it up. So Trump knows all this. But how do you fix the markets without breaking them in a way where you get blamed for it, where you pay the political consequences for it? Because let's be honest, if Trump passed something tomorrow that broke up the manipulation of the markets and all that fake liquidity gets pulled out, all that leveraging gets pulled out, well, we'd have fixed markets. We might have better regulations. We might have people going to jail, but we'd also have a crash, because when you break something that's only held up on manipulation and fraud, and you cut that fraud out, well, that takes out the card that's holding up the whole house of cards, and it all collapses. You don't want to remove that Jenga piece, not in a way that you get blamed for it, because you're actually trying to fix it. And people are fickle. They'll say like, whoa, hold on. Why are you fixing all this? My 401k is great. Markets are at all-time highs. That's most of America. There's a small subset of us that know what's going on, that pay attention to this stuff. We'd be cheering. Most Americans would not. So you orchestrate it when you won't get blamed for it. Well, now he's got China to blame. How dare China pull this on us on a Friday? You have China, you have the government shutdown. You can blame the Democrats. The Democrats aren't voting for it. We voted to open everything up. Everything is kind of lined up, and they need this to happen before the midterms. It has to happen before the midterms or after. The way things are going, it'd be very difficult for it to happen after the midterms. That means a whole nother year of holding it off. With all this volatility going on, all these new laws being passed, regulations, and you can't really build your real economy until this correction happens. It has to be cleared out. The decks have to be restructured. They have to be reshuffled. You have to do that by crashing the market. If you do, just like Petey says here, you start building with a deregulated economy, lower taxes, manufacturing, onshoring again because of the tariffs. You got the tariff revenue. You get a new economy and a new markets that are real. Wealth starts flooding back into the middle class. The stock market might not be as high anymore, but that's okay if the stock market's growing healthily at this point and the middle class is actually growing again and thriving. That's how you win 2026 midterms. That's how J.D. Vance takes over a whole new era in 2028. And that, my friends, is why I think Trump is really trying to get this going and break something in a way that he won't get blamed. There'll always be a little blame for it, but the people won't blame him if they have something to point to. This is an excellent opportunity for that. We'll see if it happens. BAM, who's been, his model is tracking this right on. This was October 9th, right before it happened on Friday. It says, BAM model calling this a turning point high and a major top this morning. Markets look extremely bearish moving forward this month. He called this out Thursday. Friday, everything tanked. And then he retweeted with, this was a stock index post very few saw. Cabal exited before the news hit. So they knew this, which otherwise the globalists are partially behind this too. They want it to break, but they don't think Trump will be able to rebuild it. They're trying to ruin this economy because they know that's the one way they can win the midterms and start to get power back. He says they're going to Ronald Reagan the market this month, a la 1987 market crash. We'll see. We'll see. Because again, this market is so fraudulent that maybe with a little backing off on China, that might be enough to have liquidity pour in again from the hedge funds. Obviously, the banks will be closed, but from the people who have money, we'll see. We'll see. We're going to know a lot more once futures come out. We'll know a lot more tomorrow. But I'm telling you that even if we have a run up this week, it doesn't mean things aren't going to turn real quickly. Everybody I follow that I trust on the markets, several accounts. Obviously, BAM's model has been excellent. everybody I follow is showing major downturn coming soon. Doesn't mean now, doesn't mean tomorrow, but soon, in the next couple months. Something is going on behind the scenes. Money is starting to shuffle. Things are getting more volatile. We'll see if it's coming, but I think we could see this really soon. I think things look the most bearish in the market since the bank failures of 2023. That's a big if, if we see this continue. So anyways, guys, that's my thoughts on that. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Let me catch up on the comments. By the way, yeah, crypto also just took a huge dump on Friday with this. And again, crypto, gold, and silver, I think initially, if the markets tank, will see a massive correction as well. Because right now, those are all extremely manipulated. And even though those are more assets than stocks, real assets in a way, even though Bitcoin's digital, there's reasons you can call it a real asset. Gold and silver, especially, though, are real assets. If you, because they're not healthy right now, because they're manipulated through their trading, there's a major correction probably coming in those as well before they take off. But we'll see how that pulls out. Okay. Alan says, this is why we need the manufacturing back. 100%. Let's see. David, the truck driver. I always like David, has always good stuff. He says, long time for me being in live. Imports are still slow coming into the country, but exports have picked up. Rates have climbed a little since the crackdown on illegal drivers. Well, that's great, man, for trucking industry. David, there was a report out that China sold all of its Bitcoin. Now that would be crazy. If China sold all of its Bitcoin, though, I'm sure it had gone down more than it already did go down. Donna says the U.S. needs to be independent. I completely agree. And we have pretty much everything we need. Alan says in the middle, Nebraska is the largest aquifer reserve for water. So yeah, water, of course we need. Well, we got lots of water here. I'm not worried about water. We have plenty of access to water. Our main things that people always bring up is like these rare earth minerals, because of tech, they're very much needed. And then obviously energy, but we have tons of natural gas. We have tons of oil, especially now with fracking. We have hundreds of years worth, maybe thousands of years worth of fossil fuels still here. And the rare earth minerals, we've barely begun to mine. So I'm sure we have more than enough there. We can be a fully functioning independent country if we need to be. We are just such a blessed country with the land we have. That's all there is to it. It's just, we have pretty much everything. I mean, we do have everything we need. We don't have necessarily everything we want, but we have everything we need here to thrive. David says, remember Friday we were supposed to get the unemployment numbers, but it came out to do the shutdown, so the revised numbers were bad again. Oh, yeah. Well, I think there's definitely some politics being played with the job numbers. And I can think of a couple things. Either Trump withheld the job numbers on Friday knowing that this China thing was coming, and he's trying to slow walk what could be a crash, maybe give people a little more time instead of getting everything at once and just breaking it real quickly. Or maybe it was going to be good news and he wanted to withhold that and then bring it out at a later time. So I don't know what's going on with the job numbers. Forrest says miners, commodities are ripping. I mean, that makes sense. If this is a trade war over that, it's going to make those things more valuable as they become more rare, quote unquote, if China's not exporting as much. Alan says, being a debt system, you always need more debt to keep it going. When the U.S. goes to a balanced budget or surplus, debt system unravels. Yeah, well, yes and no. Our financial system on debt has nothing to do with the government budget. It just doesn't. Now, we are a financial system now, which has been one of the reasons the middle class is being so stolen from. And I think Trump's trying to change that. And you're absolutely right about the debt system in general. The U.S. debt is different because even though it affects us, there's just a lot of interesting stuff going to be coming out about that. Our assets, Scott Bessent talked about this over the summer. What nobody talks about is we only talk about debt to income ratio in the U.S. government, which I understand why. But the problem is we don't talk about our assets. If you are, if you're a multi-millionaire, billionaire, whatever, and you have tons and tons of assets, you can leverage those assets for a very long time and continue to live rich, even with a lot of debt. Well, the U.S. has all this debt, trillions and trillions of debt versus our income. And nobody ever talks about our assets. It's very possible that when you consider all the land the federal government owns, all the gold, which I actually think we have more gold than people think, and then, whatever else you want to throw in there, when you put all that together, we might actually have so many assets that our debt's not a problem. I'm not saying I know that for certain, but I am changing my thinking on that because as I've studied history now, the last few years, I used to be a total debt hawk. I was like Tea Party conservative, but I'm starting to see things a little differently. And I'm not saying we should keep running up the debt. That's not the argument I'm making here, but I am saying it might not be the thing we need to be scared of as much as we are. It might be able to be more easily solved than people let on. Because think about it, from the politician's standpoint, the debt is an excellent way to keep holding the people hostage and keep making excuses to not get stuff done. Before 1913, we didn't even have a budget. So we had nothing to balance. We did go in debt sometimes, but we continually lived in surplus because of our system, which was tariffs and sales tax, basically. We lived through that system. We didn't tax the people's incomes, and we didn't run a budget. We just ran off the money that came in, and then we pulled money for debt to grow stuff. And it worked. And then we instituted income tax. We started with the income tax. They started having with a regular flow of money. And in that regular flow of money, they created a budget. And then that budget deficit just kept growing over the years and becoming a problem. But there was no such thing as a balanced budget before 1913. And so it was always growth and assets. That's all the government focused on. Growth, assets, and funding what we had. That was it. We got away from that and we started thinking of balancing the budget. We're living within the budget all the time. And our country has actually suffered since that time. So it makes me rethink what I thought I knew. Again, I'm not saying it's okay to keep building up the debt. I'm not saying that. But I am saying it might not be the big issue we think it is. It really might not be. And that's something that we're only going to find out over time. But it's very possible it's being used against us. And so it's just something to think about. I'm not telling you you're wrong. I'm not telling you that I'm right or that going down this way is right. But I am thinking, who benefits the most from using the debt as an excuse all the time? The politicians. They always benefit the most from it. Think about it. They both use it when it's best for them to use it. The Democrats who never care about the debt, who spend, all of a sudden this summer before the One Big Beautiful Bill was passed, that's all they cared about. Interesting. So I always think, who benefits? Well, obviously the politicians benefit most from holding the debt over us. So anyways, just a thought, and we'll see how that goes over time. We definitely need growth. Absolutely. What's up, Jack? You didn't know I was still streaming? What? Like ever? Are you for real? I've never stopped. But Jack, it's good to have you back. I hope maybe YouTube just closed you off to me. That's wild. No, I've never stopped, man. So glad to have you back. Hey, what's up, Moody? Good to see you. Okay. Speaking of which, so the timing is everything on this, and timing, debt hawks are going to like this next part, but also it matters with the markets. The shutdown is continuing with no end in sight. The longest shutdown in history was 35 days in Trump's 2018, his first term. Longest shutdown in history. Well, right now we're heading into our third week, which means we'll be at 21 days next Wednesday or Thursday. And from there, we're only 2 weeks away from breaking the record. And most people now are seeing no end in sight for this. But look, Trump is so ready for this and using it. And I think they wanted the shutdown. I really do. And it's perfect because they get to blame it on the Democrats to use all this stuff. And Russ vote started on Friday. The Democrats are referring to last night, which was Friday, as the Friday night massacre in D.C. Swaths of federal agencies informed that in total 1,000 bureaucrats being fired. I vote for this. Democrats asked for it by shutting it down. So the firings have started. They're called RIFs, which as soon as I say that, the RIFs, I just forgot what it stands for. My bad. Somebody can throw it in the chat. But anyways, they're using reduction in force. I think it is. Yeah, maybe that's what it is. But anyways, this is being used to downsize our government and get us closer to that balanced budget, Alan, that you're talking about. But it's also eliminating waste so that the money that goes in the government is efficient and used for growth. This is incredible what they're pulling off. They're also killing the deep state, which is obviously our number one enemy of getting anything done right here. Friday night massacre. So the Trump administration, again, is following through, which is awesome news. We should all be very happy about that. And the Democrats are walking into a major trap. Now, if we hit 60 days, which we've never done, 35 days was the record. That was still 25 days away from 60. So we've never gotten close to 60. But if we get close to 60, Democrats are going to start freaking out because once 60 hits, you can hit major cuts. And there's no legal fight they have against it because it's baked into the law. 60 days, you can downsize the government. The executive branch gets much, much more power at 60 days. So we're still a long way off. We haven't even hit 20 days yet. So we're not even 1/3 of the way there. But guys, it could be coming very soon, which is exciting. So let's keep watching this. JD Vance is talking about this right here about the cuts and what they're planning on doing.
The longer it goes on, Maria, the more significant they're going to be. If you remember, we went 9 days before announcing any significant layoffs. Again, the President of the United States wanted to reopen the government. He was trying to work with Democrats in order to make that happen. But the longer this goes on, the deeper the cuts are going to be. And Maria, to be clear, some of these cuts are going to be painful. This is not a situation that we relish. This is not something that we're looking forward to. But the Democrats have dealt us a pretty difficult set of cards. We're trying to do the best that we can with the shutdown situation that Chuck Schumer has left us. The longer.
I love it. Now, again, they've already held towards what they said they're going to do. And the longer it goes on, they're going to cut. Now, this is major bargaining power. It's also major political power to hold over the Democrats because they know more and more cuts are going to come, and they're still going through with it. So the people are going to watch that and be pissed, which is a good thing. They're going to just keep losing from this. But I love what he said. Painful. That means they're going to go for the stuff that the Democrats love, but not the stuff that matters most and not the stuff that people care about. And as this goes on, they're going to find out more and more, the people are, that the government, hey, unless you work for the government, this really isn't affecting me. And so the people are going to just be more and more okay with it as it goes on, especially if we take care of those that Americans are proud of. And that's why Trump just did this, which is actually is driving the left nuts. Now, remember, Trump said they're going to cover WIC, Women's and Children Program, all the food and formula and everything the government helps low-income women with. They're covering that through tariff revenue. So it shows you they were prepared for that, because that's one of the big things people are like, what you can't take away from these people. The Trump administration was like, don't worry about it. And now we get this. After a week of them talking about the military losing pay, Trump drops this bomb. He says, Chuck Schumer recently said every day gets better during the radical left shutdown. I disagree. If nothing is done because of leader Chuck Schumer and the Democrats, our brave troops will miss the paychecks rightfully due on October 15th. That's why I'm using my authority as commander-in-chief to direct Pete Hegseth to use all available funds to get our troops paid on October 15th. We've identified funds to do this, and Secretary Hegseth will use them to pay our troops. I won't allow the Democrats to hold our military and the entire security of our nation hostage with the dangerous government shutdown. The left Democrats should open the government, and then we can work together to address healthcare, blah, blah, blah. Guys, this is this is massive and hilarious and huge that Trump is busting this out, because the Democrats were using that to try to leverage against the Republicans. The military is not getting paid. They were having military wives calling over the weekend, all their shows, C-SPAN, all that, going after Johnson. And Trump just blasted that away. Do you see now how the tariff revenue has just given them so much more political power? When he says we've identified funds to do this, that means funds in the Treasury that aren't allocated yet, which is most likely the tariff revenue. This is such a 5D chess move. I can't even begin to explain it. It is so smart, and it is destroying the Democrats, because now imagine being a Democrat right now. You have two options. You can say, this is a great move. I'm so glad the military is getting paid during the shutdown. Oh, you just gave Trump credit. You cannot do that as a Democrat. Your base hates you. Number two, your other option is to say, this is illegal. How dare he do this? We did not allocate those funds. And now you're the bad guy saying, don't pay the military. They are in an impossible political situation because they can't stop it. Because if Democrats go on record attacking Trump legally and getting the military not paid because they halted it, either through a congressional act or through a judge, that will turn the American people outraged against them, because the American people don't care if it's legal. They just care the military gets paid, because that's one of the areas we want the money to keep going to is it's the people in the military. So the Democrats either have to go against that, or they have to go against their base and say, thank God this is how it's so genius. The Trump team is so far ahead of everybody else. It's mind-boggling. It's absolutely mind-boggling, and it's hilarious. We've just never seen a president ever as good at politics as Trump is. It just hasn't happened, at least not in the last 150 years since maybe Lincoln. This is unbelievable. So Trump he basically dropped a nuke on them. And this also gives the Republicans more leverage to not have to give in to the Democrats. So the shutdown can keep going. And look at what the Democrats' base is saying. Trump's poll numbers aren't taking, and federal workers aren't going to cry crocodile tears over one missed paycheck, because the federal workers are almost all lefties, and they're telling the Democrats to hold firm. It's like they are asking to suffer more, but they don't know what they're actually doing. They think, and this just shows you how detached and living in a bubble modern Democrats and liberals are. They actually think this is going to work out for them. They don't realize that by letting this continue, if they get to that 60-day mark, they are going to lose so much of their power in the federal government. They're not going to be able to get it back for generations, if ever. This is a trap, and they are falling right into it. And not only are they falling into it, they are cheering for it. It is insane, and it shows you how far and crazy the left has gotten. But we get to laugh about it the whole way, because, guys, this is not only are we winning and winning hard in this whole fight, the Democrats are actually cheering for us to win more, because they're so delusional. They think they somehow, just because it's fighting Trump, they think that somehow they're getting something out of this, which is wild and actually hilarious. So anyways, let me get into the chat. I've been ignoring it for a couple minutes here. By the way, guys, if you like what I'm talking about, if you enjoy the way I'm covering all this and breaking it down and predicting the future in many ways, which, I've had a good run of it the last year and a half on politics, at least. If you enjoy it, please hit that like, and subscribe if you're new. I'd love to have you. And jump in the chat if you're new too. Say hey, throw in a question, comment. Would love to hear from you. All right, let me catch up with you guys over here. Hey, what's up, Steve F? Still listen from slower lower. I love it. Mike Mishler, what's going on, buddy? Alan says government unions are suing the administration for the layoffs. Good luck. There might be some stuff temporarily put back in, but this is the administration's going to get more wins out of this and not on the cuts. Kryptonia, what's up? Feel like Trump wants to break his record. The original CR only went to November 20th, so we need to negotiate extension of the CR, so you might as well keep going until budget resolution. Exactly. Think about it. The Congress doesn't like to work during the holidays. So the longer this goes, the longer it will go. I know that's kind of like backwards logic, but they are in such a trap right now. You have the Democrats' base saying, don't give in inch. You have the Republicans who every time they start feeling the pressure, Trump is like, boom, we got the money for this. You're good. That's going to keep continuing. And so you have just this standoff where nobody has to budge. And it's over something so small, but the Democrats are desperate for a win. They haven't gotten barely anything all year except for some judge decisions that were already overturned by the Supreme Court. They are losing so badly that they finally feel like they're doing something. Think about like the No King stuff fizzled out. They didn't get their riots this summer like they wanted. As soon as Antifa is getting going in Portland, Trump sent in National Guard. That's already getting knocked out. They're drying it out. I mean, every little quote unquote win they have is so temporary now that they're getting flummoxed. They don't know what to do. So now they're actually like, we'd rather commit suicide, political suicide, than risk giving you guys anything, which ultimately the Republicans are still going to win this. Trump's still going to win this, but they just feel good that they're able to extend it a little bit before they can say you got to win. And here's the deal. What they don't understand, what they are so delusional about, is that the shutdown is a way bigger win for the Republicans because A, it's barely going to hurt them politically if it does at all. And B, it's actually allowing Trump to do stuff he wasn't going to be able to do as easily. And yet they still want it. These people have lost their minds. Anthony, I'm not going to give into that comment right there. Jeffrey's sombrero is going to be huge. It's already gotten quite large. In fact, let's go to the last White House post on the sombrero just to keep up with it. It has gotten quite large. Let me show the latest sombrero. They posted it just the other day. I'm a little sad they haven't been posting it every day because they said it would get bigger every day, but I just saw it. How far back are they going to make me go here? There it is. That was October 10th on Friday. So just great stuff. The White House team is amazing. Eventually it'll just be the whole screen. All right. Let's go through some smaller stories before we end here. Just interesting stuff that I feel deserves a couple minutes. As always, guys, if you have anything you want to share or ask, please put it in the chat and like and subscribe. And hey, if you really, really like this content and you want to support the channel, you can join the Discord and the Patreon. So the Patreon is in the description. Click it. You get a free month. And then you join the Discord, which we chat 24/7 in the Discord about stocks, especially with the market going down. You really might want to be in there. Stocks, politics, and fun stuff. It's great. People are making relationships. It's a lot of fun in that Discord. But we have dedicated channels for Finger, M10, DJT, NRGV, a lot of them. And it's a great place to be, especially if they go on a stock on a short squeeze run. You'll want to be tracking it with our guys doing the TA in there. So it's so you can join for free for a month. You also get members only lives access, which happens every week on Wednesday nights, and you can go watch the older ones. So you get all that. But going forward, I think the Discord is going to be really important as we go through this market stuff. So I hope you guys join. Would love to have you. Free month and only $5 a month after that. And if you're watching on X and you want to join, just click on my profile. It is the pinned post. Go to that link, get free access. All right. Okay. Thomas Massie just giving us another reason why he's awful and a total fraud. But Thomas Massie came out this week and basically is trying to tell us we should keep all the foreigners in MIT. So he says the surest way to screw up the world's best technical school is to let feds tell them how to run it. Well, we're not telling them how to run it. They're trying to get all these, like right here, agree to a set of conditions barring transgender people from using restrooms or playing in sports. I don't see why that's a big deal. That's federal law. We should be protecting people's rights in that, especially women's rights. And get the foreign students should be accepted based on extraordinary talent rather than financial advantage. And Thomas Massie doesn't want to do that. I'm telling you guys, this guy is not a pro first, America first. He is a fraud, and he only exists to slow down the Trump administration. That's literally all he does ever since Trump came on the scene in 2016. So Thomas Massie, I hope his exposure continued. This was a dumb one. Politically, this is so stupid. He's against his whole base on this one. So, but anyways, Massie the fraud, can't wait till he's gone. Let's keep moving. Trump just put Dan Scavino in charge of his personnel. Now, this is interesting because the guy who was in charge of personnel before was the number one person pushing the divide between Trump and Elon. Now, we see Trump and Elon have kind of made up. Well, it shows you that even in Trump 2.0, where they have a much, much better staff, that there's still guys who sneak in and are trying to undermine the Trump agenda. Well, he was the one who pushed and got them to have their big blow up. Trump has now let him go. And he put in place Dan Scavino. Now, Dan Scavino has been his media director for the last few years. He's the one posting on social media. He's most interesting to the conspiracy people and the Q people, because Dan Scavino is one of the ones who's posted the most what they call Q proofs. So every time Q would post something that was interesting, people were diving into, Dan Scavino often would post something that coincided with the Q post. And if you follow him closely and the Q stuff, you see that they're either A, trolling the people who are in the queue, which I just don't see that, or B, confirming the Q posts. So Dan Scavino is a big deal to a lot of people in this movement, and especially the more conspiracy-minded ones, which, you know, I'm one of those because most of them have come true. But anyways, this is a big deal because he just got a major promotion, and we'll have to see what this means going forward, but something to watch for sure. Next thing I wanted to just show you guys is that Candace Owens is out there still trying to prove that basically Israel killed Charlie Kirk. She's been going down this rabbit hole. She has presented some interesting stuff. I'm not going to pretend she hasn't, but it's surrounded by, and this is where you go to that Scott Adams clip at the beginning where Scott Adams says, you want to know what's true? Go to the source. And the problem is Candace keeps killing herself as a source as well. For one thing, she said that one of the ways she knows Charlie was killed maybe by Israel or somebody identified by Israel is all set up by that, is that she had a dream that Charlie came to her and talked to her about it. I'm sorry, that's crazy talk. It just is. The next thing is she just got busted on this, where she researched this plane and talked about the time it left. Well, she used the time UTC, the time zone. And basically it turns out she thought that it meant Utah time, which is pretty uneducated and listen, I think Candace Owens is brilliant. That's a major oversight. So Robert Barnes calls her out, how she thought a plane left long before the assassination was done after the assassination. That's how dumb her audience is, because it's how dumb she is. I don't think Candace is dumb, by the way. I think that's but here's the post. On September 10th, Charlie's assassination, Egyptian Air Force plane flew out of Provo, Utah. And she lists the time, but again, that UTC doesn't mean what she thinks it is. And it actually completely changes the whole narrative of the post. So if Candace is onto something, and I don't necessarily think she is, but if she is onto something, she's got to get much better about cleaning up little details like this, because it totally derails her entire argument. And I'll just go on the record and say, I don't think Charlie Kirk was killed by Israel. I think it's a nonsense argument. I do think there's some shady stuff about how he was killed. I think there's more stuff behind that. But do I think it was Israel? No. I think that's insane, honestly. I really do. And it's not because I'm a super pro-Israel everything guy. I think the Netanyahu government's terrible, and it needs to be, well, we just need to get rid of it. We cannot keep funding their wars and everything, all that. So that's where I stand on that. If you're new, just so you know, I'm not like Israel's perfect, but I also don't think Israel's involved in everything, and definitely not Charlie Kirk's death. Okay. Another thing I saw, which is excellent. The UK has been pushing digital ID, and this has been a big fight because it's very scary if a first world nation who's supposedly a democratic nation goes along with this and institutes this for their population. We don't want this. This is evil. This is majorly heading in the wrong direction. Well, the good news is the people of the UK are trying to fight back. In fact, they're signing petitions that has millions and millions of signatures already on it. And now Princess Kate has come out about it. Princess Kate releases essay warning reliance on technology toxic to human health, but she also comes out against digital ID. This is a big deal when the monarchy comes out, because the prime minister and the parliament have the power in the UK, but the monarchy has the loyalty of the people. And that is power. In fact, you could argue that's the most power. So if the monarchy is starting to come out against the digital ID, odds are it will fail. And if it fails in the UK, there's no way it's coming to the US, because the UK is ahead of us as far as censorship and all these other things. I mean, they're trying to ban, I just saw a story the other day, they're banning free refills on Coke and hot chocolate and anything they deem unhealthy. They're banning free refills. This is how horrible the UK is getting. But the digital ID fight is a major one, and we need to be supportive of this and pray that they fight it back. But excellent for her to come out on this. A couple last things here. President Trump has called out Schiff again. Says the Ukraine impeachment of me, the scam was a far bigger hoax than Watergate. I sincerely hope necessary authorities, including Congress, are looking into this. Adam Shifty Schiff, so dishonest and corrupt. So many laws, protocols violated, and just plain broken. Well, you guys remember the last couple people he's called out got indicted. Comey, Letitia James. I think Schiff is coming soon. Benny Johnson reports he calls for an immediate investigation into Schiff. So, guys, this might be the next one to break, and oh god, it'll be beautiful to see Adam Schiff indicted. That'll be a good drink some good whiskey day on that one. Smoke a cigar, because that's one I've been waiting for. I want that one way more than I want Comey and Letitia James, even though I can't stand them either. Sasha Stone talking about the left, and just this weekend, Ezra Klein. Most of you guys won't care about this, but I'm going to tell you why it's important. Ezra Klein is one of the most trusted names on the left. He writes for the New York Times, all this stuff, and he's trying to be like a moderate and actually figure out what's going on. So he interviewed Jon Favreau, who runs Pod Save America, and he used to be an Obama aid consultant. Well, this is where the far left goes. They go to Pod Save America. This is who they listen to. And so their mindset on this pod gives you kind of where they're at. Well, I tell you, we can't unify with the left. This is what Jon Favreau said when asked about Ezra Klein. Says, we don't have to admit boys aren't girls, do we? In other words, Klein is trying to figure out how we change and moderate so we can actually win voters again. And Jon Favreau writes, this isn't that we have to change our positions and moderate, but at the very least, let's try telling a story about our position. In other words, the people are stupid, and if we keep telling them a different story, they will eventually come to our side. Just so detached, so insane. I just don't even know where to start with that. But it tells you where the left is. They are not going to budge, the far left. This guy, he represents Obama, Biden, Kamala Harris, Hillary Clinton. He represents the thinking of the leadership of that party. So again, we cannot unify with these people. We have to destroy them, not physically, but through policy and through our arguments. We have to meet them in battle in the public sphere and call out their nonsense over and over again and utterly destroy it. There can be no unity. The left must be destroyed. And that's just where we have to be, because you cannot just, you can't compromise with these people. In fact, Scott Jennings just said this the other day, which I think is so perfect.
If I can't trust you not to put a boy in a teenage girl's locker room, how will I ever listen to your plan for taxes and the economy?
Right.
I will not, because I've already concluded you're a lunatic.
That is exactly true. If you're a lunatic, if you can't admit that women and men are different, you're crazy. And there is no coming together with that. And that's where they're at, unfortunately. That's where the left's at. And finally, the last thing I wanted to show you guys today is just such massive proof that the left is freaking out, that the left is losing horribly. And Tom Luongo shares this. He says, it's hilarious if Davos is sending out, Davos is a globalist, the real enemy, who's behind the left, who's behind the Israeli government, who's behind Wall Street, who's been stealing from us. This is the real enemy. Okay, it's what Tom Luongo calls Davos, but it's the globalist, City of London, all this stuff. And Obama, they sent out the other day, and I'm not going to play his clip because I can't stand the man and everything he says is a lie. But he's making clips now calling out the fact that we're starting to have borders. We're starting to actually have standards for our countries. He calls out Poland. He calls out, what was the other one? Sorry, guys, I can't. Hungary, which is Viktor Orban. He's calling them out, and he's doing this in Europe. He's trying to rise up Europe because guess what? The Americas, he's losing America. The Americans aren't listening to this anymore except for the far left. But in Europe, he's hoping they can still hold Europe. This tells you that the people of Europe are starting to figure it out. They're starting to see cracks in their power in Europe. And if they lose that, if they're spending their energy in Europe now, it means America, they have no shot here for a long time. And it tells me they know it. So, and Obama's been very silent lately. Have you guys noticed that? He's not, and this pisses off the left because he was their chosen one. And once he left office, he left them with nothing. Once Hillary lost, they had nothing. And they were going to their old people like Biden, who sucks. But they were like, well, at least we can control him. And then they went to Kamala because they were like, she's awful, but at least she will do everything we want her to do. They have nobody because Obama failed. He had a once-in-a-generation chance, got into office, massive landslide, 60 senators, which is filibuster-proof, massive House majority. He got in, and he was lazy and arrogant. And so he did most of what he wanted to do, but he spent no time developing their bench. No time at all. And the left hates him for this. Those in the know hate him for it because he gave them no future in his arrogance and laziness. And now they still trot him out every once in a while because he's still the most popular person on their team. But his influence is waning. But it tells you how desperate they are. They have no one else. So they're digging up the golden oldies and it's just not working. So guys, we are winning massively. And so be excited, but be prepared as well. Because I think some rough times are coming temporarily, especially in the markets and economy. I don't think it'll last long. I think for those positioned to take opportunity, it could actually go very well, but it will sting in the short term for a little bit. But we need these cuts. We need these government cuts. We need this correction in the markets and economy so that we can fully thrive going forward. And if this is it, if we're finally here where the market could crash, if we're finally at the correction, I think 2026 is going to be hugely prosperous. And we are going to start entering the real Trump economy, 2026, 27, 28. And we will start entering into what I believe will be a golden age financially for our country and a prosperous time for our country that will be unlike any economy you or I have ever seen in our lifetimes. I really believe that's what's coming. So I'm praying for this market correction to come because I do believe it's the last thing economically that really needs to happen in order to fully move forward into the new. So that's why I think Trump wants this to happen. I think this might be the perfect time for it. So, all right, let me catch your comments before I leave. Let's see. Christina says, it's not a coincidence the monarchy rules over the 7 Commonwealth countries suppressed and oppressed by COVID. Absolutely. I mean, you're 100% right on that. Canada, New Zealand, Australia. I mean, all of them. Absolutely. What's up, Roger? A little late, but good to see you. Kim Wiley, you too. US1, good to see you. We want Bolton. Amen. Yeah, he does need to go under his rock. Hatch Act violations is Roger. Oh, they're going to get Obama, but they got to build the case. They got to get his minions first, but we'll get there. Alan Kretz. Oh yeah, we covered Potter the other day. She's terrible, and her polls are now tanking, which is great. Which also, by the way, with Spanberger and everything, I posted that clip on my channel the other day, and I showed it to you guys. Her campaign is now faltering. That AG in Virginia is now down 6 points. The Republicans might actually steal the elections of governorships in Virginia and New Jersey. And if that happens, consider that a nuclear bomb for the left. If it doesn't happen and they win, but win barely, it's still a warning sign for them, and it doesn't mean anything for us because they're supposed to win these races. But if they lose, consider it a nuclear bomb and consider it a beginning of things to come for the midterms next year. So it could be huge. Sorry, Vince, you came late, man. My bad. So, all right, guys. Well, love you. I'm getting ready to go watch the Niners game. So this ended perfect timing, but I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. Please subscribe before you leave, repost if you're on X. I'd really appreciate that so people can watch it. And follow me on X, Rumble, all that stuff. Appreciate it. And if you guys really like this and you want to support the channel, get in the description, click that link, get a free membership for a month, get in the Discord, get members lives. And after that, you can join full time if you want after that for $5 a month. So, all right. Love you guys. God bless you. I will see you all tomorrow night. And hopefully, well, not hopefully, but we'll see what happens in the markets. I think it could be a crazy day. All right. God bless you guys. And my dogs are telling me I definitely need to call it. So have a great day, guys. Go Niners.